We're going to be talking about how Scientologists are making news for all of the wrong reasons and a whole bunch of other Scientology culty drama. Hello, aloha, everybody. So great to have you here. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult, where we talk about Scientology and culty things, my 35 years in that cult, and leaving with 3 generations of my family. Thank you to everybody in the live chat for being here, the members as well. And huge thank you to the moderators for helping us today. There is so much to cover. I swear I could do 2 of these a day, and I might even need to because it's just like popping off all over the place. But before we get going here, I have a little bit of a special guest, a little visitor who really wants to share something with all of you. Meet my grandson, the very first never in 4 generations of our family. You can say hi.
Hello.
Do you want to show your medal?
Yes.
He wanted to share his soccer medal. I told him he could.
I got this medal for being the best attacking midfielder.
Well done, buddy. All right. I love you. You got to go. Be on your way. Bye, buddy. He doesn't have school today, so I get to spend time with Oliver today. I'm so excited. It's so exciting. It'll be fantastic. It'll be fantastic. All right, let's jump in. And by the way, he's so proud of his medal. He plays soccer. I think it's his first medal. I just love that. I love the opportunities that kids have these days, especially outside of Scientology, to do all these different activities and learn about sportsmanship and things along the way. I think it's fantastic. I will read your messages to him later. Actually, he's probably going to go downstairs and watch, so he might see the comments, but I will read them to him. And thank you, everybody, for that. He really, like, since last night, Grandma, can we do a live? Can I show people my medal? Oh, I love it. He's so adorable. Okay, let's jump into this. I don't know about you guys. I've been fascinated by the world of neuroscience and tying that into Scientology and what it means. How does Scientology and the damage that Scientology does affect everything? And Paralyzed to Paralyzed, I featured him yesterday. We got to do it again because the video, it really speaks to me. And I think it might for a lot of you, even if you were never in Scientology, if you were in a high control group or even have trauma in your past, I'm finding these very helpful. Hopefully you guys will too. Let's take a look at this.
Trauma exists in a group alongside high expectations. It creates a damaging cycle affecting emotional health and brain function. Trauma disrupts the default mode network, DMN, responsible for self-reflection, and dysregulates the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal, HPA axis, which controls stress. This makes it harder to process trauma, leaving members in a constant state of anxiety and exhaustion.
That makes so much sense to me. And I can look back and remember even when I was leaving Scientology in those first several years, I swear I felt exhausted all of the time.
To meet group demands, members suppress their struggles, further disrupting the DMN and deepening emotional disconnection.
This is so true because in Scientology, you are not allowed to communicate any doubts that you have or even a desire to leave. It is a suppressive act for you to tell your partner, your spouse, your friends, anybody that you're even thinking of leaving Scientology.
Harmful coping mechanisms like detachment or defensiveness spread, fostering mistrust and judgment. As HPA axis stress continues, tensions rise, eroding unity and support. Over time, this stress creates a toxic environment where emotional exhaustion dominates, relationship strain, and personal growth is blocked, preventing healing and reinforcing trauma.
So true. And I know a huge part for me in my healing from Scientology was getting to that point of realizing, like, okay, even though, in processing what happened, giving the proper names outside of Scientology to what we experienced and the tactics that were used and that they still try to use has been very helpful for me. Because you come out of Scientology and even if you let go and you let go of all those tools, well, what do you have to replace it? So I appreciate this. So thank you, Paralyzed to Paralyzed, for continue to put these together. You can go to their channel. I'm going to link everything down below as soon as I'm done here. All right, now let's go on to the next thing. I love this. You guys know that anytime people are doing things with art or music to expose Scientology, I love it. This is from Cricket Cinema. The squirrel on the left just wants your nuts. The rodent on the right wants your kids, your mind, and your money. Look at that. That's Davy's Fake Space Navy using the squirrel, working in the volcano. That's probably representative of a Dianetics book. I love it. It's so creative. I got to learn how to make those images with AI. I've not yet figured out how to do that. David Bruce says, I see how this can create an emotional box that you don't get out of and cannot let others in. How terribly isolating. Very much so. And I think it's not just, you're not letting yourself out of that box. You're just staying in the, all of those feelings, not being able to process them, just swirl and swirl. And then because of Scientology's mind control techniques, it's very much about you and something you did. And you only want to leave Scientology because you have crimes against it. It's fascinating to me, which is kind of funny because being that I lived it and I'm still living it to a degree, I still find it fascinating because these things explain so much to me about my experience, and putting proper labels on it, being able to process it, I think that's all part of it. And I learned so much here on YouTube as well as from other professionals, reading books, all of the things. I just soak it up. Hey, everybody jumping in the chat. Good to see you. Show that aloha button some like and subscribe. I see you there, Marilyn. I know Aaron went running by, and I thought I saw Kellycopter peeking in. Thank you, guys. And Feral Cheryl, you see my body thetans in the back? I got the big ones. I should give Oliver his. I forgot about that. See, I'm trying to keep them for myself. Feral Cheryl made the body thetans behind me, and they are so fabulous. They're so cute. Okay, now let's talk about Whitney Mills. We've talked about this before, but the Huffington Post, the Huff Post, is out with a new article covering this, and it is, woman begs Scientologist doctor for mental health treatment before unaliving lawsuit says. So we're going to read through this because there's a little bit of a different take on it. Let's see. The mother of a Florida woman who unalived herself while being treated by a Scientologist doctor is accusing him of misdiagnosing her daughter with terminal cancer and other ailments instead of providing her with psychiatric care, which the Church of Scientology opposes. I think it's Layla Mills, whose 40-year-old daughter, Whitney Mills, died by unaliving herself in 2022. Last month, amended an earlier wrongful death lawsuit against various Scientology organizations to include Dr. David Minkoff and his alternative clinic. Now, remember, Dr. David Minkoff is also the father of Rebecca Minkoff, who's on the Real Housewives of New York right now. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. According to the suit, Whitney Mills had been brainwashed by other members of Scientology who recognized her acute mental anguish, including debilitating depression, anxiety, and hallucinations. One allegedly suggested she drop the body. That's one of her handlers, one of her Scientology handlers. And dropping the body, as you guys know, would be passing away, to put it mildly. Let's see. Where do we leave off there? When Whitney Mills specifically asked for mental health treatment in a text to Minkoff, that's Dr. David Minkoff, who was previously sued in connection to the death of a Scientologist patient, he allegedly told her to do Scientology training drills, which the lawsuit describes as a, quote, level of quackery that is nothing short of astounding. How great is this that it's coming out over and over and over again, the truth about the damage that Scientology can cause and the lack of mental health therapy and treatment. He was in a position as a doctor, a licensed doctor in the state of Florida, to help her and give her the right treatment or get her to the right treatment. Attorney Ramon Rasco, who is representing Layla Mills, told HuffPost, and he failed to do that. Minkoff and the Church of Scientology have not yet responded to the lawsuit in court. Minkoff did not respond to questions from HuffPost about the allegations. In a statement shared with HuffPost, the Church of Scientology said Mills was not under its care or supervision before she died, and that was solely before she died, and that she was solely responsible for decisions regarding her medical treatment. Oh, and there's Whitney Mills there. It just like, I just cannot with these people, with Scientology. Whitney Mills, a real estate agent in Clearwater, home to Scientology's Florida headquarters and numerous member-run businesses, joined the organization in 2007 at age 26. According to the lawsuit, Mills paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cult of Scientology. It says church, but I can only say Church of Scientology 2 or 3 times, and then my brain just won't let me say it. So Mills paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cult of Scientology for operating, or hold on, I lost my place. There we go. So she paid it for coursework and training to achieve its highest levels. Operating Thetan level 8. She achieved that in 2019. Operating Thetan is defined by Scientology as a spiritual being with a knowing and willing cause over life through matter, energy, space, and time. So it's like the physical world. The cult of Scientology calls psychiatry a pseudoscience with no scientific basis for any of its treatments or methods. In 1969, it established a mental health watchdog, which they did, as we know. Scientology creating a mental health watchdog is laughable. Called the Citizens Commission on Human Rights, which runs the Psychiatry and Industry of Death Museum on Hollywood and Sunset Boulevard. Now, Minkoff, a prominent Scientologist and co-founder of the alternative medicine clinic LifeWorks, also named in the suit, was linked to the infamous 1995 death of Scientologist Lisa McPherson while she was in the care of members of the organization at a Scientology-owned hotel in Clearwater. According to a lawsuit filed by her family, she was held there against her will after suffering a psychotic breakdown following a minor car crash. She was taken to a hospital for psychiatric evaluation, but checked out against medical advice after several Scientologists arrived and told doctors that psychiatry violated their religious principles. 17 days later, she was pronounced dead by Minkoff. As her health deteriorated, her caregivers had ignored Minkoff's advice to take her to a nearby emergency room and instead drove her 20 miles away to the hospital where he worked so that McPherson could be treated by a Scientologist doctor. By the time they arrived, she was already dead. Her death prompted criminal charges against the cult, which were dropped after, if your blood is not yet boiling, get ready for this part. After her death prompted criminal charges against the cult, which were dropped after the medical examiner changed McPherson's cause of death from undetermined to accidental. The cult had disputed the initial cause of death finding and hired its own experts. Because Minkoff had earlier prescribed Valium and chloral hydrate to McPherson without examining her. I don't know about you guys, but I can't just call my doctor up and like, hey, can you give me some Valium or whatever it is? You need to be seen. His Florida medical license was suspended for a year in 2001, and he was fined over $10,000. Without admitting guilt, he reached a $100,000 wrongful death settlement with McPherson's family. So now, decades later, the Mills family, so whole nother family, is accusing Minkoff of contributing to their loved one's death. Instead of referring Mills to a mental health professional or prescribing psychiatric medication to treat her mental health symptoms, their lawsuit claims Minkoff misinformed her and misdiagnosed her with a host of maladies, including Lyme disease and a cancerous ovarian cyst, and largely ignored her very real psychosis and mental health crisis. Mills' cancer diagnosis made her think she was going to die anyway, erasing all hope. But for that misdiagnosis, Mills would not have self-harmed, the lawsuit claims. Minkoff, who describes himself as a world-renowned Lyme disease expert and Lyme-literate doctor, treated Mills for Lyme disease and a parasitic infection without proof she had either, the lawsuit claims. At one point, prescribing medications that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration said could pose significant health risks. So there's a little bit more. We're not going to read the whole thing because it's long and we have so much news to get to, but that is the gist of it. And like I said, I'm going to link it down below so you can see the whole thing. Hey, Don Gloves, just saw you there. Good to see you. It's just mind blowing. It goes beyond negligence. because not only was she not given proper mental health treatment for what she was experiencing, she was never encouraged. In fact, she was discouraged from seeking any other type of treatment out there. It's just the worst. Hey, James Steele, he says, I love Sins of Scientology and Sandy and Abraham. Yes, they did multiple episodes on Lisa McPherson. So if you've not heard those, you definitely want to go over to Sins of Scientology and check those out. They've got some great, really great info in there. All right. Now, yesterday we were talking about, were you guys here yesterday? Give me a 1 in the chat if you were here yesterday when the internet went out, as did cell reception. It was crazy, right in the middle of talking about this story having to do with Kendrick Moxon. But I wasn't the only one, so it wasn't me. It was actually kind of a neighborhood and beyond wide outage. But it was strange because I couldn't even get my cell phone to work, which was weird. I had to go outside and I came back. Oh, I'm glad you guys were all here there. Yeah, keep telling me. Okay, now, so I want to finish talking about that because it's really important. As you guys know, Kendrick Moxon is not just a lawyer for Scientology who handles some of their smaller cases, temporary restraining orders, and things like that. He basically is just sent to harass people. So he is also a Scientologist at the top of Scientology's what? Their bridge to total freedom. Yes, he is. I do believe he is an operating Thetan level 8 as well. Hey, Juanita. So when you hear this story, and some of you already know it, and we're going to go into some of the details, it is very mind-blowing that he continues to show up for an organization that was, in my opinion, responsible for the death of his daughter. So simply, hold on here. I'm going to scroll down to kind of the part that we were specifically talking about that involved Stacy Moxon. Stacy Moxon was the daughter of Kendrick Moxon. She was in the Sea organization. Now, listen to this. So we've spoken to multiple people who were at the INT base the day Stacy Moxon died. So this goes on to talk about how Claire Headley came forward and said, hey, this was not an accidental death. Here is what actually happened. This young woman was separated from her husband for, I think it was 2 years. She was newly married and then sent to the International Scientology base. Separated from her husband, wasn't able to see him. She was struggling in multiple ways. She was in training for the Religious Technology Center. And from there, she was actually taken off of that and put into the household unit for there on the base, the international base, where Golden Era Productions is, that whole space. I think you guys are familiar with. So she became a groundskeeper for Bonnie View, which is a house that had been renovated at the base for L. Ron Hubbard to live in. Because, apparently he's coming back. He's not coming back. We know this, but they build multiple homes for him. At the vaults and there as well. So Claire goes on to explain how the narrative that Stacy didn't understand how dangerous it was where she was. She pulled back kind of like a manhole cover, and there was an electrical vault that's being described as in there. Scientology's narrative is that she was trying to save a squirrel. I don't think so. If you read, and I'm going to link this down below so you can see the whole thing. Claire Headley and other people too have shared that is not what happened. She was distraught. She unalived herself in a very horrific way, being electrocuted like that. And there was a narrative and a short story that was come up with to cover it up. So whether or not her dad knows the truth or he's just choosing to believe this was an accident, I don't know that part for sure. And Claire even said she worked on the electrical team. She knew better than I did the dangers of that vault. She knew. The night before she died, Stacy had written a CSW, which is a completed staff work. It's kind of like you have to get permission to do something or go someplace or see somebody even. She was hoping to go down to Los Angeles that night to see her husband and her dad, and it was disapproved again. So it was obvious to them what had happened, Claire says, but the unaliving of a depressed Sea Org worker who was being kept a virtual prisoner at its int base was not a story that Scientology wanted to get out. So officially, Stacy was trying to save a squirrel and accidentally died. There was a super creepy service for her at the base, Claire adds. Like a week later, Ken Hoden did it. It was all just general and vague. Did Moxon come out for it? No, he wasn't there. Somehow, he continues to show up for Scientology, and I just don't understand it. I just don't understand. I don't. I guess I understand the mind control aspect of it, and maybe he does believe because he has to believe. You know what I'm saying? That would be a hard thing to wrap your head around, that your church, right, was a contributor in your daughter being so distraught and separated from her family, from her husband of 2 years, that seemed to be the only solution. And you're right, that crazy Canuck, they couldn't come up with a better story. Pathetic, poor lady. I agree. I absolutely agree. So again, I'm going to link the full thing down below so that you guys can read that. Now, if you did not know, you guys are going to love this. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. You guys know that Scientology is a human trafficking cult. I do believe we've established this. If you've been watching my channel for a while, we talk about it on the daily. And why? And why? Especially the last 2 stories we went over. That is largely part of why. Now, Scientology has come out with a documentary about human trafficking. I'm going to show you this. It's called Finding Home. It's on their Scientology network. It's a documentary. Here, I think it describes it here. Finding Home tells the story of young girls who were trafficked in Cambodia's sex trade as they moved from their heartbreaking past to a future of hope with the help of an organization working to rescue and rehabilitate victims of human trafficking. Which, that by itself, right? That's a good thing. But why? I mean, it comes out in a day. They have a trailer on Scientology Network. And they say there are millions of children trapped in slavery. They are all searching for home. You guys tell me, what do you think about that? Tell me in the chat. If you're on the replay, jump on in those comments and let me know. What do you think about this? Juanita says, hell yes, they are human trafficking cult. Yep. And Juanita is out there in Chicago all the time, live streaming, protesting Scientology. And I mean, she knows. It's just, yeah, even James is saying, OMG, that is a bigger joke than any of mine. James gives us usually at least one daily kind of funny joke in the chat. But you're right. It's totally a joke, and it's completely being done to try to throw attention off of what they're actually doing, which are things like what we just talked about, getting people from other countries and taking their passports. I mean, where's the human trafficking cult? So it's just very, I don't know what you call it. The irony is just incredible there. And so we shall see. We shall see how that turns out. Hey, Abraham, good to see you. Hey, Cece. Yeah, right. Jersey Jan. She's just like, what? WTF? I know. Okay. So speaking of culty things too, you guys know Ethan Suplee. I don't know if it's Suplee or Suplee. I kind of like Suplee, but it could be Suplee. So I'm going to go with Suplee. He was on My Name is Earl. He's a Scientologist, longtime Scientologist. And he is in a movie that is coming out that actually does look really funny. But look at what the name of it is. Remember, this guy's like a lifelong Scientologist. It's called Let's Start a Cult. I'm gonna link it down below because you got to watch the trailer. It looks hilarious, but to be in a movie called Let's Start a Cult when you're in a cult, I think it's really funny. Tell me what you guys think. It's next level. How to start a cult while he's in a cult. So he has a role in that. That's the poster. Like I said, I'll link it down below. But yeah, in a cult, doing a movie on how to start a cult. I guess it's similar to what Elizabeth Moss, who's in The Handmaid's Tale, has done. That blows my mind too, and how those things just cannot be connected, which really speaks to the mind control in Scientology. When I was a Scientologist, I didn't think Scientology was a cult. I thought it was just misunderstood until I didn't, until I had enough exposure outside of Scientology to actual information of the truth about it, including the truth about L. Ron Hubbard. There are so many lies around L. Ron Hubbard, who he is, and the narrative of his past that are told and shared in Scientology with their glossy Ron mags, their Ron magazines, Ron the Explorer, Ron the Writer, Ron the Philosopher. It's crazy. Catherine, is he making fun of Moss? In the documentary, the movie. No, Ethan Suplee is very much a Scientologist still. Far as I know, if you guys know anything different, you let me know. Oh, Lydia, that's a good point. I wonder if Margaret Atwood. Now, Margaret Atwood wrote the book, The Handmaid's Tale, sees it too. She's very observant. Oh, I wonder. I don't know. Ooh, now I want to know. Now I want to know. That's actually a really good question. Yeah, the irony. The irony. Okay, so now we were talking about Dr. David Minkoff, and as you guys know, his daughter Rebecca Minkoff, and the Minkoffs have given so much money to Scientology, it's sickening. It really is. So, Real Housewives of New York, the season premiere of season 15 just aired, and I watched it. Can you guys tell me? Give me a 2 in the chat if anybody else watched the Real Housewives episode. And Rebecca was in it, like right off the bat. Rebecca Minkoff, who's the Scientologist of the multi-generational Scientology family. And rumor has it her brother is a spy for the Office of Special Affairs, which, you know what? We should wake them up. I rather use like the body Thetan, but this is my David Miscavige. I feel like he should wake up the Office of Special Affairs because he's their senior. And besides, I think like the body Thetans are good. At least these ones. Okay, so Office of Special Affairs, check this out. You're going to love this. You really are. I don't know how you are tracking all of the negative press on Scientology because I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Office of Special Affairs has a statistic, which is not just positive inches of press, but negative inches of press. And there is so much negative inches of press. It is huge. It is humongous. And it's just going to be more and more and more. So much more. So look at this. This is out on Radar. Secret of Real Housewives of New York star Rebecca Minkoff exposed deep ties to Scientology, unaliving, and drug scandals, and links to double artist Danny Masterson. That is one heck of a title. So this just came out. Picture of Scientology, the blue buildings, and Rebecca herself. Hey, Dusty from Clearwater. Okay, so Real Housewives of New York, Rebecca Minkoff is in it, has attempted to hide her family's connection to drugs, unaliving, and convicted artist Danny Masterson over the years. Well, I don't know why she might want to distance herself from those things. RadarOnline.com can reveal that the reality star's dark history with the cult of Scientology and the effects her family's actions have had on others. This is interesting because so far what the media has been covering has been more her involvement with Scientology and a little bit about her dad, but I think they are really getting into it. Ren, you're right. So many inches. It's going to be like feet. Okay, Rebecca's father, Dr. David Minkoff, a Florida-based high-ranking Scientologist, has been accused of medical law practice in the unaliving death of Whitney Mills 2 years ago. And then it goes into, we already talked about that part about Whitney, so I won't go through that. The family also accused David, her dad, Dr. David Minkoff, of extorting. They use that word, extorting Whitney for more than $20,000 for highly questionable alternative treatments rather than properly treating her. And it goes on to more about what the Mills family has said, how Scientology defendants brainwashed her into believing that mental health professionals, including psychologists and psychiatrists, and related medical treatments such as antidepressants and other prescription drugs were unnecessary and abhorrent. So this is straight up a side effect of being a Scientologist and being told over and over again that psychiatry is evil, that they are going to damage you, that they are the reason for all of the ills, not just in this world, all the other worlds. L. Ron Hubbard said that psychiatrists have been around for a long time on the whole track, which is what he calls, earlier lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. It really is. Let's see. Jersey Jan says, if Minkoff doesn't want to bring up cult of Scientology on the Housewives, the producers should have others in the house bring it up. Maybe they did. I mean, everything's already been taped. So whatever's done is done. But how they cut it and put the show together, we shall see. In the teaser for next week, they did show a clip showing one of the other housewives asking Rebecca, well, what do you want us to say if we're asked about Scientology? And you know what Rebecca said? No comment. Just no comment. It's going to be everywhere because I'm telling you, there are many people who cover Bravo and the Bravoverse and the Real Housewives, and this is all going to be more fodder. She has a small role in it. She's a friend. She's not a main cast member, but there's no way this isn't coming out. It already is. It absolutely already is. And this is, again, another story that is putting Scientologists in the media in all of the worst ways for Scientology, but in all of the best ways when it comes to exposing Scientology. I mean, it's blowing up. It's just blowing up all over the place. And people are absolutely going to catch on more and more. I love that people who watch Bravo that might not know anything about Scientology are now going to learn. They're going to learn about it, which is why I support her being on the Real Housewives of New York, because I knew it was going to come out. It's coming out, and it's bigger news than anything she's actually saying outside of that. Now, I know how much you guys, speaking of, well, I'll just show it to you and we'll talk about it. Did you know Tom Cruise is sharing his anti-aging secrets and they have been revealed? This is interesting. So Tom Cruise's anti-aging secret revealed. Here's why it sparks concerns. And it just talks about how, he's really active and blah, 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 does his own stunts. And he's into biohacking is one of Tom's big passions, says an insider close to the blockbuster star. So he's in his 60s, does all his own stunts, did the thing at the Olympics. So he's doing cold therapy. He's now stepped it up and gotten a cryotherapy chamber for his home so that he can literally freeze himself day after day as a way to boost his metabolism and slow down the aging process. He's convinced that it's given him an edge and says it's better than drinking 10 cups of coffee in the morning. I'm going to link the whole article down below so you can see it, but this is basically what it's about. For all intents and purposes, cryotherapy is at least a less dangerous option than some other questionable lifestyle choices made by Hollywood heavyweights. But as our source explains, it's the actor's obsession with staying young and active, and likewise his absolute terror at the idea of getting old, that is causing the most concern. So, I mean, I don't know. I've never done cryotherapy. I mean, is it really anti-aging? I don't know enough about it to actually speak on it, but I don't know. I feel like I might, I don't know if I would try it. I don't like to be cold. I really don't. I do not like to be cold. But has anybody else tried cryotherapy? I have not. I don't think I've ever even done, I didn't really do cold plunge therapy, but I did do a polar plunge to help raise money for the Special Olympics in Minnesota. There's a couple of them each year in the winter where they go and cut out a hole on Lake Minnetonka, which if you are a fan of Prince, he says you should purify yourself in the waters of Lake Minnetonka. Now, they cut out this big rectangle and you go out there. You have to wear shoes because of the ice. People wear costumes, bathing suit. It's actually fabulous to watch. And then jump in and you have to plunge. I did it one time. I was a one and done. I wanted the experience. I did not have to do it again. It was like nothing I'd ever felt before. You plunge in. It's so cold that it takes your breath away, where it's actually hard to breathe. And you have to go across, not that far, and then firefighters are there to help you up out of the stairs if you need it. But there is a ladder where you can get out. My body was so shocked by this. I made it across and just put both my arms straight up and they just pulled me out of the water. I wasn't even going to actually try to climb those stairs. Kelly Copter says Tom Cruise is ready to be thrown in that volcano after his freezing. So do you think, Kelly, it's the equivalent of being frozen in an ice cube? And maybe that's why he's doing it and liking it. But I know that there are athletes and other people who do ice baths. Why is that so hard to say? Ice baths. Ice baths. Feels weird. Anyways, you know what I'm saying. I don't know. And I'm not even saying like that it doesn't work. I just think it's interesting. And apparently people do, because there's an article about Tom Cruise doing it. And as much as I dislike Tom Cruise as a person and Scientologist because of how he's taken advantage of free slave labor of Sea Org members personally, when he could be paying somebody to do that, I don't know. If he wants to do cryotherapy, good for him. It could actually be doing some good. I don't know, but I would try it. I think I would try it. But it wouldn't be the only thing I would do. And I can't even hate on him for being obsessed with aging. I'm trying to like reverse that clock. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I'm not that bent about it. But I do wonder though, did he get one of those, Grant Cardone and his alleged cult 10X has this whole system and protocol. They call it a protocol where you do, I think, red light therapy and some other type of cold thing. I don't know what it was. But it is interesting. And I did have a neurologist once tell me to take cold showers, to which I said, yeah, I don't think so. But then he explained, you can take your regular shower, but just end it with really cold water, which I got to be honest, I keep forgetting to do that when I'm in the shower. Like I want to try it out and see if it works. And SPTV fan freezing his brain cells, obviously. Interesting. Okay, so Lori's saying it's a dopamine hit. That makes sense. Maybe that's why it feels good. Because even after I did the polar plunge, I mean, I was frozen for hours. It really does give you, I think it does give you a dopamine boost. That would make sense. Kelly Copter, you are so kind. Yeah, no ice cubes for me. No. Wasn't it relatable, Reese? Her dad told her as a child, you guys, because L. Ron Hubbard said that we were frozen in ice cubes, right? And that's what happened, and that's how she got here. A child. Who says that? I can't even imagine. Like I had a unusual upbringing in Scientology, but I don't recall my mom ever saying that. I mean, but then again, we know that if you follow Relatable Reese, you know her dad is a total POS. So I guess that would be an on-brand statement for him to make. Cece says, I walk barefoot to combat neuropathy. I need to do more of that, especially before it starts getting cold again here in Minnesota. Now, Feral Cheryl is having a crisis. Am I a clam or an ice cube? Well, apparently all of them, Feral Cheryl, because L. Ron Hubbard in History of Man explains the history of man and that we were clams. And we talked about this yesterday. Phil Jones put out that great video talking about that humans came from clams. And L. Ron Hubbard says that's why we're anxious, because the water as we were being clams would come up and then we were developing lungs. It's just all over the place. I know I keep saying I cannot. Paralyzed to Paralyzed says it activates the vagus nerve as well, which makes sense because I've learned a little bit recently about that you want that. And I think there's ways to do it too without freezing, because I would like to not be super cold. All right, another thing we were going to talk about yesterday before my internet rudely cut out for the entire neighborhood was Scientology's interest in Adele's home. Kelly, you got to talk to us about this here. I don't know if you saw it, Kelly Copter, but let's look at this and we are going to discuss like what is happening here. So there's a comedian named Alan Carr, and he shared this. Adele's life away from the public eye is allegedly being throttled by Scientology. Oh, more negative press for you, Office of Special Affairs. One of Adele's houses is nestled in the peaceful town of East Grinstead. Now that's where St. Hill is, okay? Surrounded by the scenic views of West Sussex, which it is gorgeous. I went there once. It was beautiful. So she bought the house in 2017 in the English countryside. It's an 8-bedroom Tudor-style mansion called Ridge Hill Manor, and it's located just outside of East Grinstead, which is where Scientology is. So, it basically talks about it and how nice it is. Here's the thing. Adele has a secret house in East Grinstead, and the Scientologist tried to buy it off her. Carr shared with The Mirror, back when she initially bought the home in 2017, insiders noted that she has deliberately chosen the least showbiz place she can think of to live a normal life, unflashy existence to raise her son. However, given the town's connection to Scientology and all the celebrities that come with it, this has proven more difficult for the singer than she might have anticipated. I don't really buy that, because what celebrities? Tom Cruise? Who else is going to England, to St. Hill? East Grinstead has been well known for its connection to Scientology for decades. So while the manor hosts events like the annual St. Hill Gala, you guys hear about that during the International Association of Scientologists event and fundraiser. Members come from all over the world. Their gatherings have stirred controversy among locals who aren't exactly thrilled with the organization's decision to have one of its primary hubs in their town. The estate has seen visits from famous Scientology members like Tom Cruise, who reportedly used a wing of the manor as his retreat during the pandemic lockdown. Okay, first off, you see, the estate has seen visits from famous Scientology members like Tom Cruise. Just Tom Cruise. I mean, I'm sure there's some other ones, but I don't think that they're all running around East Grinstead. Okay, so, I mean, that's basically it. That is basically it from that story there. But here's what I want to know, and I want to know what you guys think. Why do you think? What would they be doing? What need do they have for an 8-bedroom estate? Now, I think it's on over 40 acres. So there might be a bit more to this. Like, why do they want the 40 acres near St. Hill? What are they doing? You guys tell me what you think. Stacy, oh boy, Alan Carr has just put himself on OSA's radar, but they have no idea who they're dealing with there. True. That is very true. I'm sure they're looking into him right now. Or maybe once they get going. It's a little early in Los Angeles, so they are probably already on their posts and their jobs. So good morning. Okay. Since Scientology says because they can, greed. Totally. But why? What do they plan on doing with it? T, hey T, it's pretty much in Ashford. Okay, cool. Good to see you, T. Let's see. Yep, that's true too. Rona got to spend that money somehow. That could be it too, just about putting the money someplace. Absolutely. Hey, Marissa. Hello. That's true. It's almost 9:00 in Southern California, so they are on the job. So Catherine says Adele was stuck in LA during the pandemic and bought a house there. Her son was in school there. So yeah, I don't know how much time she spends in there. Kelly Copter says, I love Adele. Yes. Oh my gosh, Kelly, off topic, but I need to watch your video about Nikocado Avocado and that whole thing and what's going on. And if you guys don't know, go to Kelly Copter's channel and look for her most recent video. It's about this guy on YouTube. It's not Scientology related so much, but this has been a crazy story on YouTube that continues to unfold about this guy. And I love that Kelly did a video about it. I need to check that out. Hello, fellow clams. I love that. Kelly also says she used to live in East Grinstead, but pretty creepy. It is. Like, why? Stacy says future live audience of his show, Chatty Man, will be partially OSA folk, or at least they'll have a laugh at the filming. So that's he's doing a film, that comedian. Yeah, I'll have to watch that. We'll have to actually watch that. Yeah, Julie, 40 acres for the complete mule. I don't know. Tina in the last 20 says St. Hill takeover. It would seem like it. It just I don't know. There's something's going on there. I feel like there's so much more to that. Like there really is. I'm telling you. Okay. All right, everybody. There's a couple other stories that I'm working on, including a couple of interviews with some people who had left Scientology. And I want to thank all of you for continuing to share just your supportive comments, because what I hear from a lot of them, they watch different channels and are feeling more secure in speaking out about Scientology. because it can be very difficult. It is difficult. It's not for everybody. And personally, my opinion, I don't recommend people when leaving Scientology and immediately sharing your story publicly. That works fine for some people, but for the majority, one, it's not something they desire to do, but I would use caution in doing that. Again, it's nothing wrong with doing it if you can do it. But for some, and this is why I like to talk to people for a little while before I have them on, is just kind of find out where they're at with things, how long they've been out, and all of the things. But over and over and over again, I'm getting beautiful comments and messages from people who want to leave Scientology. Many of them are parents who have children in the Sea organization, and that's why they're under the radar. But your comments, especially the people never in Scientology, but all in on ending this cult, are making an impact. They see it, they're reading it, and there's a few people I'm in touch with who really want to come forward and share their story to add to exposing Scientology. And I think that is so beautiful and so brave of them to do it. If you haven't had a chance to see I did 2 interviews a week or so ago. They're on my channel under live with 2 former Sea Org members. One went in the Sea organization when she was 12 years old, and the other one was 16. And David Miscavige made her and others salute his dog at the int base. So they share some disturbing, but also stories that's why we do this. It's very impactful in a way to keep people out of Scientology, to share the stories of people who've survived Scientology, but also for those who are under the radar. And one for one, do you know what they say? I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one seeing what I was seeing. I thought I was crazy. I thought there was something wrong with me, because it's so gaslighting what Scientology does to you when you start to question and put back on them. What they want to do is introvert you and drive you just within your head so that you're so upset that you don't want to talk about it. That's that's everything behind that. That is totally the goal. So in my mind, I so appreciate when someone is willing to come forward and publicly share their story, because that now it's somebody else. The Office of Special Affairs have to keep track of. They can't keep up. They don't have a lot of staff. They are overworked, underpaid, and probably not getting the best nutrition. Let's be honest. It's hard to climb up and down those bunk beds when they're 3 high. But the truth is continuing to come out. And if you guys see something, say something. Send me a clip if it's on YouTube. You can send me a link to an article or a video, but just do please give me a timestamp on a video and tell me what I am looking at or looking for. You can send it to Natalie@lifeafteraccult.com. I appreciate it. There's so much content to cover that it's impossible for me to consume it all and do the other things that I do in life as well. But I do consume a lot of content. With your help, it does make it easier to put everything together. And I really appreciate you guys doing that. I appreciate you being here so much, and for all of your kind and supportive comments too, and of each other. I love seeing that in the chat, showing that aloha. I hope you all get out today and have an amazing cult-free day.